Welcome to the Dragon's Library, your source for games, movies, shows, and more.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Dragon's Library. So I'm currently re-recording Spider-Man No Way Home's review because I was really tired last night when I recorded it, and it wasn't until earlier today when I went online to check on it that I realized, OMG, this is terrible. I have been saying Far From Home the entire time. So I very much apologize for that. I know some people listened to my review already. For all of you who did, the two people who did, I'm very sorry about that. I'm so sorry. That review was terrible. Please ignore it. Anyway, so I'm going to currently re-reviewing it. This is the first time I've ever had to re-record something like this. Full-on re-recorded. I've done some editing in the past, but, usually I just take what I get. If there are some mistakes, I kind of let them sit there because I believe in what you put online should stay there if somebody else has listened to it already. This is a one-time thing. Don't worry, I'm not going to be taking down any other episodes if you want them to stay up. So, let's get started. First up, I love this movie. I already talked about that last time, but I'm just going to say it again. I love Spider-Man No Way Home. It is easily the best of this Spider-Man trilogy, flat out. It is the second best Spider-Man movie, in my opinion, just behind Into the Spider-Verse. It's actually a lot like the Into the Spider-Verse in a lot of ways, too. Both plot and story structure in a few different key ways, but I'm going to get into that later. For those of you who do not want spoilers, this is going to be the spoiler-free section of the review, so you're safe until I say spoiler section. Got it? Alright. Well, for those of you who are aware, and let's be real here, you all know what this movie is about. You've all seen the trailer. It blew up on YouTube the moment it was released months ago, and we've all been waiting for this anxiously, so Spider-Man's identity was revealed in the last movie by Mysterio, and he's now being blamed for both the attack on London and Mysterio's death. He starts out in the movie, he's getting arrested, everybody's crowding around him, going like, oh my god, you murderer, murderer! J. Jonah Jameson is trying to twist everything to make, Spider-Man look like the complete other monster. Unfortunately, thanks to being the one who released the doctored footage Mysterio made, he's got his old job back, so for those of you who don't know, in the current previous movies, Spider-Man didn't have the Daily Bugle. The Daily Bugle was just a podcast, like an InfoWars style podcast, and it's very clear, he's even selling brain pills. So J. Jonah Jameson is really one of those people trying to spread fake news and stuff like that. In one part of the movie later on, he gets a guy to follow Spider-Man around, and when something happens, he basically outright twists Spider-Man gets attacked by multiple villains into Spider-Man's unleashing chaos, and it's all his fault, and J. Jonah Jameson is just he's a character in this movie that I just want to punch so hard. And the thing is, I think he can be done well at times, because I've seen him done well in things like that Spider-Man video game on the PS4. I think they did a good job characterizing him as, he actually cares about a city. In this one, it feels like he'd be perfectly happy if his entire city burned down, as long as Spider-Man got blamed for it. My only major criticism is just that J. Jonah Jameson is a bit too evil, but that's saying, oh, so they made him a full-on villain instead of just an antagonist to the main character. That's just an interpretation. I'm fine with it. Aside from that, what happens is, Spider-Man gets arrested, but it's very clear they can't hold him. He has evidence, multiple eyewitnesses that say, no, it was actually Mysterio, and they clear it up. Yes, he wins the court case. He doesn't get charged with anything officially. We get a cool cameo from Daredevil from the Netflix show, so if you're wondering if the Netflix shows are canon, yes, they're canon, baby! So that was cool. I was actually in theaters for this, so when Daredevil appeared on the screen, the entire theater started going crazy and clapping, and I heard one person next to me wait, who's that? It's Daredevil from the Netflix show, man! It's beautiful. So, there were a lot of standing applauses during this movie, I gotta admit that. Anyway, moving on, so what happened is, they were you're not gonna get arrested or anything like that, you're not going to prison. But unfortunately, there's still the court of public opinion, just as a brick comes flying through Peter's window. Even though officially he's been freed from the crime, a lot of people still believe him. In fact, there's even this funny moment in the school where the teachers are trying to welcome him back, and the other two of the teachers are being one of the teachers and the principal are being really cringy, saying the students built a memorial for him, and the other one guy's no, you guys did that. He killed Mysterio. Mysterio was right. And it's like, don't listen to him. He's a conspiracy theorist. And it's like, oh yeah, we all have that one person. We've all know that one person who won't shut up about all that bullshit. It's just like, It's like, yeah, my life is ruined. Not even just his life. Ned and MJ, for knowing him, have trouble. So they go to apply for colleges, and they get turned down because we are currently turning you down due to like the controversy surrounding you or those around you. And as a result, him, MJ, and Ned get rejected from all their colleges, which, might heavily screw up their future. So what Peter ends up doing is going to Doctor Strange saying, hey, can you erase the knowledge that I'm Spider-Man from everyone in the world? Because knowing this isn't just affecting me, it's affecting my family. Me and my aunt had to move over to Happy's place because we don't have enough security in ours. My friends are getting denied, access to their education. It's not just screwing up my life, it's screwing up everyone's life. So Strange does a spell, but things backfire, and consequences ensue as a result. We all have seen the trailer, so we know that Dr. Octavius comes out. I will admit that it's all very fun and very interesting. All the actors, there are 5 returning villains and 2 other returning actors. I'm not going to spoil right now. They all come back and are lots of fun. If you're looking for a really good Spider-Man movie, this is a really good Spider-Man movie. One of the best. So yeah, highly recommend it. Check it out. I'm going to give this a solid 9.5 out of 10. It's not perfect, and it's not perfect like Into the Spider-Verse, but it's really close. So, that's all for the non-spoiler section of our review. Let's move on to the spoiler section. Warning! We are entering the spoiler section. Warning! Alright, is everybody gone who doesn't want to be here? Cool. So, after, so there are a few things to go over. First of all, during the intro sequence, there's a lot of fun Easter egg stuff with Daredevil, popping up and all that. We move over to Happy's place for a while. He's got all this intense security. We have the Fabricator from Stark Tech from the previous movie. There's just a lot of fun things. I feel like they give Ned and MJ a lot more to do in this one. They're just around more, have more lines, stuff like that. Quality of life improvements from the previous movies. You have Spider-Man's initial problem, which is hilarious in a way, because he goes to Doctor Strange for the memory spell, and it's like, I need something, my life is ruined. It's like, alright, well, your life seems to be screwed up, and if you don't get into if you're, your friends are also not going to get into college, which is a big important thing for you, and your life is just being destroyed, fine, I'll help you out. And it's like, and then afterwards, when the spell goes out, it's like, Peter, I understand, you came to me after you tried to call them. It's like, wait, call them? What do you mean call them? It's like, you mean you came to me to try and get me to brainwash the entire world without calling the college admission board and trying to fix it on your own first? It's like, I didn't know that was a thing. He's like, alright, get out, out. And it's like, oh right, Peter Parker is still a kid, a dumb kid who doesn't know any better right now. And there's moments like that throughout the entire movie where Doctor Strange forgets that Peter is just a kid still, because yeah, will you help me fight to save the universe? That's fair. And so he goes to run off to, the college admission lady before she gets on a plane to try and appeal his case. Or at the very least, specifically, get his friends a place. But, it's all very funny. Honestly, all this, for Doctor Strange and Spider-Man just pair off so well together. Benedict Cumberbatch and Tom Holland have this great dynamic, and it's just fantastic. Really, really enjoyed that. Of course, on the bridge where he's talking with her, because, he finds her car, swings over, it's like, hey, can I just have a minute of your time while you're stuck in traffic? Midway through, there are some explosions from behind to, detect something happening, and a giant robot tentacle bursts from the ground. And it's Dr. Otto Octavius! It's the same Dr. Otto Octavius, or Doc Ock, from the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 2. And of course, after Dr. Octavius is dealt with, which is really funny too, because he grabs some of the nanotech off Peter's suit. And the nanotech basically pairs up with Dr. Octopus's tentacles. So for most of the movie, Peter has him on lockdown. It's like, yeah, I have control of the tentacles now, buddy. Wrap him up, please. Okay, good. He's like, what is this technology? He's like, oh, let go of my arms. Let go of my arms. No. He spends the whole movie basically tied up like a child and kind of indignant about it. It's really funny. And of course, immediately after he captures Otto, Green Goblin bombs come raining. Peter manages to escape. The admissions lady is saved, and she's like, "Oh, Peter, thank you so much. You're actually a really sweet kid. I'll see what I can do about you and your friends. You're right. You don't deserve to be kept out of college just because of some horrible controversy around you." Which is nice. But obviously Peter's like, these guys all think I'm someone else, because Dr. Octavius was like, I have you now, Parker, and then the mask came off in order to block a blow, because he has the nanotech suit on. And as a result, Otto was like, wait, who are you? Like, I was supposed to be fighting Tobey Maguire? I'm sorry? There's been a mix-up here? Meanwhile, Doctor Strange has been detecting all these abnormalities from other realities that were drawn in by the failed memory spell he managed to contain. He's already captured the lizard by the time Peter gets there. Doc Ock is brought to him. He brings Peter to him with Doc Ock. Locks Doc Ock up. You get a lot of fun lines about magic. Since when is that real? Otto comes from a world where Spider-Man was the only superhero, so you get a lot of, wait, he's a wizard? What do you mean wizards are real? And as a result, Spider-Man starts using the magical relic from Doctor Strange to hunt down the anomalies, while Doctor Strange tries to work on fixing the spell before it goes out of control and causes irreparable damage to the world. Spider-Man goes to face off against Electro and is helped briefly by Sandman, who he then captures as well when he starts to get irrational. Afterwards, he goes and captures Otto. He goes to capture Norman Osborn, who's regained control of himself from the Goblin persona, and has gone to Aunt May for help because he saw Spider-Man's face in the soup kitchen. He realized it wasn't in his own world anymore, and it's just like, hey, look, I just want some help. I'm not in a good place. I managed to break free of his control. I just want to try and fix myself. And he convinces Peter to, give the other villains a chance. As the other villains slowly realize, wait, we all were about to die fighting Spider-Man. Because that's where they were all taken from. Otto was moments before he fell into the river and drowned. Lizard moments before the skyscraper thing fell on him. Electro right before he went overloaded. Sandman remembering that both Otto and Osborn died. Osborn assumed right before he died in the fire. All those kind of things. And, they have this moment of, you're just going to send us back? Peter, what are you going to do? You're going to send us back and die? And it's very nice. It's like very clear as Strange is like, all right, Peter, we just got to send them back. It's like, wait, but they're going to die. It's like, that's the natural way of things, Peter. It's like, no, I can't just let them die. If they're about to die in their world, we have to do something to help them. It's like their deaths will help the multiverse continue to function. It is the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Of course, Peter doesn't take kindly to that. He manages to outsmart Doctor Strange and keep him trapped in the mirror dimension for a little while he works on a solution. Which is, to try and cure the villain. So, get a lizard cure for Dr. Connors, fix the tentacle bug that's making Dr. Octavius really crazy, get a cure for the Goblin Serum. All these little things. Help Electro dissipate his charged electrical powers. That kind of stuff. And of course, things go awry when the Goblin persona takes over halfway through the making of the cure. Him and Osborn cure Octavius, but shortly thereafter, Osborn starts acting really strange, and it becomes very clear pretty quickly that he's been taken over by the Goblin. Peter's spider sense goes off, and he manages to, lev up the Goblin's hand just so he was about to set up a bomb. But he uses the conversation, the gloating phase, in order to turn the other villains against Spider-Man. The exception of Otto Octavius, who tries to stop them because, he just got cured. And is now in control of himself again and realizes that this is insane. So, half the villains team up against Spider-Man. Sandman gets tired of this whole thing and wants to just set up the box. Just his whole thing is he just wants to go back to his own world so he can see his daughter again. He doesn't need to be cured, in his opinion. The rest turn on Spider-Man, and there's this big ensuing brawl. in the apartment complex that leaves Aunt May dead. Yeah, they actually killed off Aunt May in this one. And it's just a really emotional death. And J. Jonah Jameson had somebody following Spider-Man, and when they saw him bring a bunch of weird guys into the apartment, he called J. Jonah over, who called disaster control, or basically like the superhuman police. And he gets really upset. He's like, you know what? Nothing's happening. What are you talking about? I just already called disaster control. We need to set up something for Spider-Man to look bad. Which, again, looks really bad for J. Jonah Jameson. It's like he wants something bad to happen so badly just so he can get some views. He's a complete piece of shit in this universe. But yeah, obviously, because of all the destruction that was caused by the villains trying to kill Spider-Man, Spider-Man's the problem. And so when the superhuman police come up, disaster control, they run in there, guns blazing, as Spider-Man is crying over the body of his basically mother, Aunt May, and start actually shooting at him. Like, one guy pegs him in the shoulder while he's crying over the corpse of his aunt. And when Happy arrives on the scene, just before, at first Aunt May looks like she's fine, but she actually got some shrapnel hit, so after her and Peter try and walk out, she falls over as lying dying there. Meanwhile, Happy just rode up, and instead of, rushing to help the obviously injured woman, they spend extra time pulling Happy out of the car and arresting him, while Aunt May dies, and then when they see Spider-Man crying over the body of the woman they let die because they were too busy arresting someone to go help another human being, they shoot him in the shoulder because he's not responding to them. He's not responding to them. His essentially mother just died. What the F is wrong with you? Aren't you supposed to be disaster control? You're damage control. You're not SWAT team. I mean, seriously, what the actual hell? Comments on how the police are ineffective regardless. Ned and MJ are wondering where Peter goes because he goes off to mope, about how everything's terrible and it's all his fault because that's what Spider-Man does when everything comes crashing down. Meanwhile, MJ and Ned have the slip ring from Doctor Strange, and it turns out Ned has elite magical power, so he's able to accidentally, after waving his hands a few times, he figures out how to do the circle thing in order to use the slip ring to open a portal. He's like, okay, find Spider-Man. And it's like, and then somebody walks out, it's like, Spider-Man? Peter, is that you? And then out of the portal steps Andrew Garfield, the Amazing Spider-Man from the Sony Amazing Spider-Man universe. And he's a lot of fun. I will just say outright, they have this whole thing where she's like, prove your Peter. It's like, I'll stick into the ceiling. No, you gotta do the full wall crawl. It's like, what? Why do we do the full wall crawl? It's like, the grandmother comes in and she's like, Peter, while you're up there, could you please get that little cobweb? He's like, oh, of course, ma'am. Because this is Peter freaking Parker. Sony take notes. When an old lady asks him to help out, that's what Peter Parker does. Sorry, you're gonna hear this a lot, but this movie convinced me that Andrew Garfield could have been an amazing Spider-Man if they just given him a decent script and hadn't had Sony constantly interfering in those movies. Because, when Marvel takes the reins with Andrew Garfield's villains and Andrew Garfield, they make all of them a compelling character. Doc Connors gets a little more fleshed out. Electro gets a lot more fleshed out, and Andrew Garfield gets that nerdiness factor that makes Peter Parker back to him. Like, he's constantly joking with the others. He gets really excited, like, oh, I can cure Dr. Connors. I've already done this before. It's like, really? It's like, yeah, this is my thing. I'm a scientist. It's like all the other Spider-Men are constantly geeking out with each other and they're all nerds. They're all giant nerds who know how to make cures for supervillains. That's just how it works. And they play off each other so well because after Andrew Garfield gets in, they try and get another Spider-Man and it's like, oh, wait, who are you? You're not Peter. It's like, yeah, I am. It's like, well, where's the suit? It's like, it's under here. It's under the clothes, guys. It's like, oh, guess what? Guess who it is? Tobey frickin' Maguire. The original Sam Raimi Spider-Man. OMG. Oh my god, when he stepped out of the portal, the entire audience exploded. Like, people were just, cheering like crazy. And him and Andrew Garfield have this like in standoff moment where they fire webs at each other, and the grandmother comes back in immediately after. It's like, "Hey, boys, you need to clean up those webs right away." They're both like, "Oh, sorry, yes, ma'am." They start cleaning them up while you figure out where Peter might have gone. And the other two are like, "Look, we can't just keep opening portals forever. Do either of you know where Peter might go?" It's like, "Well, does he have a place he would go to mope after everything went wrong?" It's like, yeah, there's a place like that. It's on top of the school. It's like, I usually go to Empire State Building. Better view. Yeah, better view. And it's like the Peter Parkers were basically debating what was the better place to go mope when their entire life goes to shit. If that's not the most Peter Parker thing I've ever heard, I don't know what is. But yeah, so that was fantastic. Loved it. And they have all this, like, interesting chemistry with them because they've all lived slightly different lives. It's like, yeah. Have you guys ever heard, because they're all, like, really interested in how Tobey Maguire has the natural webs, because that was something Sam Raimi did in the movies, is he gave Peter natural webs, and they're like, "Hey, wait, so you ever, like, get, like, a web blockage? Like, we're constantly running out of fuel or having jam problems." Like, well, I did have it one time. It was due to, like, an existential crisis. Like, oh, dude, we totally understand. Existential Spider-Man crisis. Yeah, it happens all the time for me. It's like, oh my god, they've all had this. They've all had all this random bullshit happen to them, and they're just like, yeah, that's rough, man. Your best friend turned into a lizard? It's like, no, my teacher. It's like, oh, that sucks, dude. It's like, yeah, my guy, one of my teachers, this professor I was working for, went insane and grafted tentacles to his spine. What's the craziest thing you ever fought? Well, I fought this alien one time. He was like this alien goo monster. Oh, actually, I fought two aliens. One on Earth and another in space. He was like purple and he used stones to wipe out half the universe, but we got him bite back. And then Amazing Spider-Man is just sitting over there being like, wow, I'm so lame. You guys have awesome adventures. Why don't I get any cool adventures? Which is a not so subtle dig at Sony for making shit movies. There are a lot of those in this. Like, the Amazing Spider-Man is constantly like, yeah, I got really broody and dark and pointless and stopped pulling my punches. I stopped just being Spider-Man. I really hated myself for it. And, I'm lame. It's like, no, you're not lame, dude. You could be so cool. You just gotta believe in yourself more and try. It's like, Sony, maybe if you believed in the Spider-Man and let the Spider-Man actually try and be Spider-Man, he wouldn't feel so bad about himself. Sony, I'm not sure we can make this message clear. Marvel good, Sony bad. Like, seriously, they really dig into Amazing. But they actually do give him good character traits now. Like, he's more fleshed out in this one movie as a side character than he was fleshed out in his own 2-movie series. Which is just pathetic on Sony Pictures' parts. But yeah, so Spider-Man all get together. They all repair all the cures that Peter Parker had designed. And they lure the villains to the Empire State Building. I mean, not the Empire State Building, the Statue of Liberty, which is actually really cool, because apparently thanks to Captain America's sacrifice, they're currently renovating the whole place. They're giving it a shield to go over the torch. Captain America defended our whole world, so they're going to add him to the Statue of Liberty, essentially. Which, really cool idea. Like, it's interesting seeing the ways the MCU has diverged from our own world, considering how long it's been. And I like that in the world building. Just all these little background details are like, yeah, this is a place where superheroes live and die, saving entire planets. Of course, there'll be some new memorials for them. But yeah, they manage to beat all the villains. In the process, Tobey Maguire gets stabbed through the back, and it's like by the Green Goblin during their fight with him. And there's this really funny moment of where it's like, no, you killed him. And then like after the fight, Andrew Garfield goes to like help him up. It's like, yeah, dude, you got stabbed. Ouch. It's like, yeah, it's happened to me before. It's like, yeah, actually, me too. We've all been stabbed through the chest at least once in our series. And it's like, oh, okay. You just stabbed? It's like, yeah, I just got stabbed. You got shivved. It's alright, I'm gonna heal. It's like, oh, God. There's so many fun lines. Like, I would pay just to have another movie of them three just bantering as Spider-Man and going on a few adventures together, because they have such good chemistry. And it really just, like, I know I keep saying this, because we already knew that Tom Holland was a good Spider-Man and that Tobey Maguire was a good Spider-Man. But just seeing Andrew Garfield playing off them so well kind of, like, did the impossible and made me nostalgic for the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Like, I hate those movies. They're bad. They're really bad. But somehow, just seeing him being a fun, all-around, amazing, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man in this movie made me want to go back and revisit those, even though I know they're not good. They even give him a redemption arc. See, there's this moment where MJ is thrown off the Statue of Liberty, and Tom Holland is attacked while he's trying to dive for her. Andrew Garfield is like, oh, not again, my redemption arc. Because, there was that stupid scene at the end of The Amazing Spider-Man 2 where the web hand barely misses Gwen Stacy as she falls and she snaps her neck and everything. Well, instead of that dumb thing happening, what's his name? Andrew Garfield just dives down and grabs her, and there's a moment of, you saved me. And he's like, oh my god, I saved his Gwen. I get it. I've redeemed myself. And it's like, good for you, Andrew Garfield. You finally learned not to grab people with the webs while they're falling at terminal velocity and snap their necks. Good for you. You learned how to do things properly. And it is a big moment. They treat it like a big moment where it's like, he's finally redeemed himself. He's prevented another innocent Spider-Man girlfriend from dying by being thrown off a building, because really, guys, that shit is getting old. Which, all great and nice. You also get some Venom cameos at the end, where, Venom got teleported in, but he's not really a part of the main plot, and you just see him in the mid-credits scene being like, wait, so there was a billionaire who got a tech suit, and then there were these superheroes, and there were all these superheroes in the world, and the bartender just not talking that much, being like, cross my heart, man, cross my heart, this is all real, I swear. This giant purple alien snapped away half my family for 5 years, but I just got them back. It's so crazy here. And of course, if Eddie goes to leave, he gets teleported back to his own reality because Doctor Strange activates fixes everything. Although he does have to do it by erasing Peter Parker's memory from the whole world. So Peter Parker, all his friends, and lose all memory of him. So MJ and, Ned don't remember who he is at the end. Even Doctor Strange forgets. It was the only way to stop all the people who knew Spider-Man was Peter Parker from coming into their universe. So that happens, everybody forgets, and Spider-Man has to, just kind of eke out living on his own now, but he managed to get his friends into college and fix their lives so they're not being dragged down by, their relationship to him. He tries to reintroduce himself and tell them, but he's like, no, I guess I'll just see you around. And it's like, he doesn't want to build a relationship off the old memories they forgot. He wants to try and be himself and become friends with them again. And maybe one day when they're ready, he'll tell them, who he was and all that stuff. They made him promise to keep reaching out to them, but he's not going to try and force a relationship based on memories they don't possess anymore, which is interesting. I'm not sure I like that they lost all their memories, but I will admit they're at least trying to do it properly. Anyway. Obviously Tom Hardy gets pulled back to his universe in the mid-credit scene. And unfortunately, though, Venom left a small little splattering of goo behind, which means the next Spider-Man movie, if we get one, is going to be Venom versus Spider-Man. Because the last thing him and Venom were going to do is go find Spider-Man to ask him all this stuff, because he seems pretty similar to them. But when they get teleported back, a small bit of Venom. So I'm guessing that part's going to stick on Peter. He's going to get the Venom suit. Obviously, it's not going to work out. He's going to be like, this thing is really murdery. I don't want that. I don't need this kind of publicity right now. Tears it off. Eddie Brock, who, probably going to have the same comic book backstory of, hey, he said somebody was a murderer, and then Spider-Man caught the real murderer and got disgraced. He goes to pray at a church. Spider-Man gets the goo monster off. It drips onto Eddie. Venom is born again, reborn in our universe. Which is interesting. It's an interesting way of getting Venom here. I kind of like it. After that, the real in-credit scene has the teaser for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which is going to suffer the fallouts of this thing. Doctor Strange is still feeling the after effects of the 2 spells he cast, which apparently took a lot more out of him, and goes to Wanda for help about the multiverse because there are going to be problems. And also, spoiler alert, but what if, that animated series from Disney Plus? Yeah, you need to watch that now because Evil Doctor Strange is back, baby! It's back! And, I'm so excited for this because Evil Doctor Strange is one of the coolest characters from the What If series. And I'm so happy to see him back and in charge. It's going to be great. We're also going to get to see Mordo, the rival student from the first Doctor Strange movie, who went off away once Doctor Strange took over as Sorcerer Supreme. So we're going to get to see more of him. It looks fantastic. Like, seriously, if you haven't seen this teaser, go look it up, because this thing is gonna be a trippy movie. I'm gonna love it. Doctor Strange always has some really trippy scenes. It's great. I think that's about it. This is basically just a re-recording of everything I was doing before, and I cover basically all the basics. Yeah. So that's it, guys. I'll see you guys next time on Tuesday. See ya.
I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode, and thank you for listening to the Dragon's Library. Please subscribe to this podcast to be notified of new episodes. The Dragon's Library releases new episodes Tuesday and Friday each week, and you can follow us on Twitter at dragon_library2. If you want to suggest an episode topic, my email is in the description below. And as always, thank you so much for all your support.